Hi everybody, it's Alex Tennis, and today I'm gonna review for you the Babolat Pure Strike 98 16x19. Let's go. So today I took out this Pure Strike 16x19 because if you don't know, I was a user of the 100 version 16x19, and so I wanted to try the 98 version to see if it was a bit more control oriented and if you can maybe think about buying this racket for you. So first I'm gonna go with the specs, and then we're gonna go on the court, and finally I'm gonna give my rating. Let's go. So the specs are pretty basic. This is a 98 square inch head size with a 16x19 string pattern like I've mentioned earlier, and finally you have an unstrung weight of 305 grams. So you have pretty basic specs. Now let's go to see how this racket really stands out compared to, let's say, the Wilson Blade and other rackets like that. If you're looking to buy some tennis products online, then I have a great news for you. You can use the code ALEXTennis to have 10% off your next purchase on Tennis Zone. Thanks to them for making this video possible, and let's go back. On the court with the Babolat Pure Strike 98 16x19, the first thing that I felt and I was kind of surprised is the amount of power that this racket can generate. And yes, for control-oriented racket, this racket is definitely powerful. And you gotta be ready to adapt yourself to that kind of power. The spin is definitely there with that racket, even though it's not a spin-oriented racket. The flexibility compared to the Gen 3 is definitely improved, so definitely a more flexible racket than it was, a more comfortable racket than it was, but you still have the feeling. So for me, the flexibility is definitely in the upper hoop, but in the lower part of the racket, that's where you feel like they still kept the stiffness of the racket. So yes, the racket can have a tendency to lack a bit of stability in some case, but it's not that bad. At the serve, it's really easy to generate any kind of effect, and the power is definitely there. At the net, it's still pretty good, but sometimes you're losing a bit the feel of the ball. But in general, it's a great racket for an overall player that can, play from the baseline, go at the net sometimes, do some slice, but for an aggressive player, definitely, that's for sure. So I really enjoyed the Babolat Pure Strike 98 16x19, and I felt like it was a good mix, but a weird mix that you guys need to be ready to understand before you try this racket or you buy this racket. And for that, I'm gonna go straight to the rating, and I'm gonna explain the reason why I gave this rating. So in terms of control, I have to go with 7 out of 10. Even though this is the control-oriented line from Babolat, I don't feel like this racket stands out in terms of control. There's some better option on the market, like the Wilson Blade, like the Radical, like many other options that you can think of. This racket is still quite powerful. Yes, let's say the 97 square inch version, the VS, like it was used to be called, is control oriented, but this one is actually not. It's kind of really powerful, and so that's why I went with 7 out of 10 for the control, because yes, it's control oriented, and I had Head Store at 52 in this, so it was helping, but no, definitely not the best control oriented racket, that's for sure. In terms of power, I have to also go with 7 out of 10 for all the reasons that I've mentioned earlier. In terms of feel, I'm not that sure, so I'll have to go with 7.5 out of 10, because yes, the feel is great and it's a bit more flexible compared to the other version, the previous generation, and I personally liked it better, but I sometimes feel like it lost a bit of its identity, because the Pure Strike used to be really stiff, now it's flexible, so it kind of falls off because it doesn't really stand out from the competition. So yes, it's great, but at the same time, it's definitely not perfect. In terms of spin, it's kind of good, It's definitely stands out compared to, let's say, Wilson Blade or Head Radical. This racket can actually put a lot of topspin, and I don't take into consideration the string that I've put in there, but obviously with the Link Store it was a bit better, but I just felt like it was really good. So there you have my overall rating. I would say that this racket is made for a player who wanna be aggressive, but that doesn't have enough power by his own to have a really control oriented racket like, let's say, the Pure Strike 97. So it's a racket that's going to help you to create a bit of power, to create some pace from the baseline, but at is also going to be really good because of the amount of control at the net and in terms of slice and all that kind of stuff. So definitely a racket that is made for a modern player that want to grind from the baseline, but that is ready to put a lot of pressure by going to the net. So there you have my review. Hope you like it. Again, thanks to Tennis-On for letting me borrow this racket. Without them, it would not have been possible. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.